Alright, we're going to talk about how to crop, straighten, resize, and save images in Photoshop. So this is kind of the foundational, really basic edits, but I want you guys to know how to do them because they're pretty important. So here's an image. It just opened like this in Photoshop. I actually opened two, right? There's one and two. I've had some students say like, "Well, my image is open and they're like too small. My images are too small. Did I do something wrong in the camera?" No, it's just how your images are zoomed in Photoshop. So if I go down here in the bottom left corner, we see 8.33%. That means it's showing me my image at 8%, 8.33%, so it's pretty small. So I'd want to zoom into this. So to zoom in, I always use the keyboard shortcut Command plus to zoom in. So now if I go down here, I'm at 66.67%. If I go one more, that's 100% crop of my image. And if I hit Command minus, I zoom out. So Command plus to zoom in, Command minus to zoom out, right? So Command plus, and we can zoom in. I mean, we can zoom in. I'm sorry, I'm probably making you guys sick watching this. We can zoom in to the pixel level. Right now we're zoomed into 3200%. We're seeing individual pixels. So that's one way to zoom in and zoom out is Command plus, Command minus. I'm going to show you that. There's also the magnifying tool, which is right here. I don't ever use this, so I don't really know how to use it. The shortcut is Z for it. With it, by default, it's on plus, right? So just by clicking, it's going to click in. And I can always hit up here in the top, I can hit minus, and now it'll zoom out. So that's one way to do it. You can always go fit screen. It'll fit your image to your screen. It's kind of whatever you feel comfortable using. I always just go Command minus to zoom out, Command plus to zoom in. The other thing I want to point out is the navigator. So right now, right, we kind of see the whole image right there, but if we go Command plus and start zooming in, you notice that the red box of the navigator is just showing us this red box is what we're seeing in the main navigation window in Photoshop. So I can grab this red box just by clicking and dragging. So I'm holding the cursor down, clicking and dragging, and it's showing me a zoom in of this image. So that's just a good way of kind of traveling around a zoomed in image. The other way to do that is if you hold down the space bar, you get this little hand icon, and you can click and drag, and you see the red box moving there. You can also zoom in and out in the navigator. I don't find that it's pretty jumpy. So I just, like I said, Command minus, Command plus, and you can use the red box of the navigator to zoom around when you are zoomed into your image. So I find that to be very useful. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how to crop and straighten our image. So remember, anytime you're cropping your image, you are losing information. You're getting rid of information, right? Your cameras can make these big files, and when you crop it, you are getting rid of information, right? Which is going to limit how big you can print an image, right? You never would want to crop an image down to something like, I don't know, a tenth, right? Cropping is for getting rid of the edges a little bit, not a ton, right? So I'm going to go to the crop tool, which is the fifth tool down from the top of the panel. The keyboard shortcut is C. I'm going to just click that. And when I do that, we see that there's a dotted line around my image with these handles. Okay? So I can click this and crop my image however I want. So when I said that you wouldn't want to crop your image down to a tenth, you wouldn't want to say, oh, I want that to be my image. Right? Because you're then cropping your image down so far that it's going to seem really pixelated. Let me just do that really quick. So I just did that. I'm going to hit return. And now if I zoom in, we see that the image is a really low quality. It gets really pixelated. We don't want that. So to go backwards, I'm going to go Command Z or Edit Undo. Command Z is Edit Undo. Or you can always go Edit, Step Back. Command Z. The other thing I actually want to show you, let's actually crop that again in a weird way. Oops. Yeah, let's crop it. Let's say, oh, I cropped it like that, and say, oh, wait, I actually don't want that. So another really important tool that we have is the History tab. We can always go to the History tab, and we can jump back in history. So the History tab records, I think it's up to 55 steps that we do, and you can always go back. So I can always click back, right? So there's the weird crop that I did. I can crop back to the very beginning. And so now my image is here. So let me just do some weird crops really quick and just show you how that works. If I crop there and said, oh no, I actually want it like this. Oh no, I actually want it like this. Right, now here's my image, and I'm stuck with this, and it's like, oh no, oh man, I wish I could go back to the beginning. Well, you can, right? You can go back each step, or you can jump all the way back to the beginning and get your whole image back. But remember, it only records, I think it's like between 35 and 55 steps, so be careful. You don't want to fill up your history tab and not be able to go back to a point that's usable, so just remember that. So, to crop your image, we're going to grab the crop tool, and up here is the crop dialog box. I really recommend that you guys all use the same aspect ratio for every one of your photos that you turn in for a project. So when I say aspect ratio, I mean the relationship between the vertical and the horizontal. Sorry, I did that backwards. The vertical and the horizontal of the image, right? So I'm not talking about size, I'm talking about the actual relationship between the width and the height of a photo. Right now, I can take this photo and crop it any way I want. I could make a long, skinny photo like that. That's clearly a different aspect ratio than that, right? The relationship between this and this are different, right? I could make a short, fat photo like that. Different aspect ratio. I could just go, oh, I kind of want my photo like that. Different aspect ratio. So, I recommend that you guys always use the same aspect ratio for your photos. The default would be the aspect ratio in which your camera makes a photo, right? So this is an aspect ratio. I believe it's a 2 to 3 aspect ratio. So, if you go to where it says ratio, you can put in any aspect ratio that you want, okay? Or you could stick to the original aspect ratio, which is the aspect ratio that your camera makes a photo in. So if I hit original aspect ratio, now, no matter how I bend this box, right, I could go there. That is the same aspect ratio as this. It's cropped down, but the relationship between the width and the height has remained the same, right? I could also go, let's just say that I want to crop it like this, but I want to rotate it so that it's a horizontal instead of a vertical. So that is the same aspect ratio as this, right? The short side and the long side have the same relationship. They're rotated, but they're the same relationship. So, I would recommend that you always use the original aspect ratio. If you want to try other ratios, right, I would just say make all of your photos. If you want to make a photo square, you got to make all your photos square. Nothing's weirder than when I'm looking through photos and the aspect ratio is jumping to all these different aspect ratios. So just stick to a standard for now, and feel free to experiment, right? So I'm just going to go original aspect ratio because that makes the most sense for me. So I'm going to crop it down. Maybe just a little bit. Maybe get rid of the front of my kayak that's out of focus there. That looks pretty good to me. And I'm pretty happy with that crop. It's a pretty big crop, but it's not huge, right? That's still a pretty big usable image if I crop it down that much. But before I hit return, which is going to apply this crop to your image, I also want to straighten this horizon. That's like driving me nuts that this horizon is crooked. So to do that, I want to see a representation of like a square, straight, horizontal line. So to do that, I'm going to go up to the ruler here, and I'm going to click inside of the ruler and hold the cursor down, and then drag into the image. And what that does is it brings a horizontal guide down. I could also do it with a vertical, right? I can always grab these guides. So these guides aren't part of your photo. It's just a guide that sits over the top of your photo. So now I see that that is a horizontal line. So now if I float outside before I crop, I get this little 90-degree icon, right? This little 90-degree cursor. And if I click it and drag to the right, we see that I'm now straightening my image. So that looks better to me. Now I have straightened the horizon, and I've cropped the image how I want. I can always go and kind of change the crop a little bit. I could bring this down a little bit more like that. And when I'm ready, I'm going to hit return on the keyboard. And boom, there's my image. It's straight. So before, after. Okay? And when I do before, after, I'm just hitting Command Z. Edit, undo, edit, do. So now I'm going to grab the top tool in the tool bar, which is the move tool. The shortcut is V. And I'm just going to float over this guide and then pull it back into the ruler like that. So it just served a purpose to straighten that horizon out for me. Okay, now, so I cropped and I straightened my image. That's a really useful way of doing it. Now I want to resize my image. So I'm going to go Image, Image Size. So remember, your cameras make these big, giant images, which are going to be really good for printing, okay? But they're not so great for turning them into or posting them on a website because they're too big. It'll bog down a website. It'll take me forever to download them and look at them. So I'm just going to go Image, Image Size. And the Image Size dialog box pops up. So this is showing you a preview of 100%. You can zoom out, zoom in, whatever you want there. And we're going to save our images to turn in for our assignments. So I recommend that you guys save your images two different ways. One for print and one for turning in for your JPEGs, right? So kind of the idea is a high-res version and a low-res version. The high-res version is going to have a resolution of 300. That's print resolution. We want to keep that resolution at 300. And we want to keep our image as large as we possibly can, which is how it is right now. So if I go from pixels, I'm going to just change this to inches. We have an image at 300 pixels per inch, print resolution, at 15.7 by 22.3. The image size is 180.8 megabytes. We cannot just go and type in 40. I mean, you can, right? It's going to let you do that. It says that your image used to be 108.8 megs, and now it's 1.14 gigabytes. You can't make something small into something large without it losing a ton of quality. Okay, you're asking Photoshop to make up information. So we can't do that. So I'm just going to cancel out of here. So image, image size. So we have to stick below this number, 180.8 megabytes. That's how my camera made this image, and after I cropped out a little bit of information, that's what I have left to deal with. So, to save your image at a high-res version, we're just going to go inches, and we're just going to hit OK. So what I'm doing is I'm just saving my image at its full size. So I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to call it Canyon Lake. And I always save my images with this, Option R1. That means revision 1. I put a little bullet in between. R1, revision 1. That just tells me that, like, it's a full-size image that needs editing. I'm going to save my image, my full-size image. You guys remember this from 142, I remember, or I bet, as a TIFF. A TIFF is a non-compressed file. I'm going to save it to my desktop, and I'm going to hit Save. The TIFF options come up. I'm just going to hit OK. And now I have a full-size image. Over here it says Canyon Lake, bullet R1. Great. Now I want to save it to turn in. So I'm going to save a secondary version of this. So remember, you have to do the full-size one first, and then the smaller one. So I'm going to go File. I'm going to go Image, Image Size. I'm going to now resize it to low-res, how you turn in your files. Resolution, a 72. I believe I've asked you to turn them in at 2500 pixels on the longest edge. So the longest edge on this image is the vertical. So I'm going to go 2500 at 72. Now notice you always have to type in the resolution before the physical height. If not, if you don't do that, it's going to automatically change your resolution. So it's pretty counterintuitive, but you always have to change the resolution before you change the physical height. I'll repeat that again. You always have to change the resolution down here before the physical height, okay? So this is great because I used to have 180.8 megs, and now I have 25.5 megs, which will mean this thing will load up quick on the internet. You can turn it in this way. It's perfect. So I'm going to hit OK. And now I want to save this as the low-res version that I'm turning in. So I'm going to go File, Save As, and you're going to put in the naming convention for the assignments. So A1 underscore Buzzy underscore 01. And remember, I want it saved as a JPEG, not a TIFF, because we want a compression file. And I'm going to hit Save, and then hit OK. So now if I close this window, we'll see on my desktop, if I can find my stuff on my messy desktop here, we should have two versions of this image. Oh man, where did I save those things at? Oh, they're right here, right? I have a large scale version and a small scale version. This is the one you're turning in. This is the one that you're going to print from. So that's how you're going to crop, straighten, resize, and save your images. I'll see you guys later.